In the late 1800s, Dr. Charles Finney was a well-respected physician living in the small, quiet town of Atchison, Kansas. He had built a solid reputation as a man dedicated to his work, healing and helping anyone he could with his home, doubling as his clinic. His life was simple, peaceful, and predictable, or so he thought. One day, a frantic mother burst through his door, carrying her young daughter, Sallie. She explained that her daughter had been suffering from abdominal pains for days, and she was now unconscious, and she begged the doctor to help her. Taking one look at the girl, Dr. Finney knew that this was an emergency. He brought them into his home, and he performed surgery on the girl right there in front of her mother. But it was too late. Even with his best efforts, the young girl died. As if the loss of life wasn't upsetting enough, the girl suffered tremendously during the procedure, as he had not given her enough anesthetic, and she screamed in pain and terror all the way up until her final moments. Overwhelmed with guilt, he apologized profusely to the mother and offered to pay for the funeral. But even after he had done everything he could to make amends, the frantic mother continued to blame him for her daughter's needless suffering. And it would seem that she never forgave him because neither she nor her daughter ever left. Within days of the funeral, strange things began happening around the house. Toys moved on their own, doors opened and slammed shut, and giggles could be heard echoing from the halls even when no one was there. Then the new patients started coming in. Some people rent a room in the house, while others only visit for a few hours before fleeing in terror. Each person has their own story about what happened to them there. But most agree that the house was haunted and that whatever was inside wanted them out. Paranormal investigators claim to have captured many scary things on camera, including sudden drops in temperature and a full apparition of a young girl who seemed angry and upset. It was clear to them that there was a ghost in the house, but they wanted more proof. So they came up with a plan to capture something on camera. They went to the attic and began filming. What they captured shocked them. A black mass seemed to come out of nowhere, floating down the stairs. And this is only one of the creepy things that have happened in this house. While researching the history of the house, I found that back in the early 1900s, the local spiritualist church saw this as an opportunity to prove the existence of an afterlife. It's believed that their seances were some of the first ever recorded. There are many stories of them trying to speak with Sallie, but it always ended badly. Many claim that Sallie was very angry about how she died and that she didn't want to leave. And the more time that went on, the angrier her spirit became. It's said that one day a group of spiritualists were performing a seance in the parlor when the room suddenly grew cold and the candles on the table began to flicker. They continued the seance despite the spooky occurrences, and that's when they heard chains dragging metal moans. Whatever was in the room with them began to shake the table violently, and it's said that one of the girls with them got trapped under the table and couldn't get out. When the lights came back on, everyone was gone, and the girl was found sitting underneath the table crying. But not everyone who enters the house has such a peaceful experience. It is said that sometimes the boundary between the world of the living and the dead is so thin that those who spend too much time in the house can become trapped in it forever. There are rumors that many people who stayed in the house never came back out again. And if that's true, then it makes sense why some believe the house should be avoided at all costs. Years later, the family who lived in the house finally decided to sell it. The new owner, Helen, decided to keep the house as a rental property, and she made sure to tell each renter about the history of the house and the ghost that resided within its walls. It's said that the first person who rented the house after the Finneys left went crazy within just a few weeks. They say that he began hallucinating and he claimed that he was seeing ghosts everywhere. He was eventually committed to an institution where he remained until his death. Helen was worried that the same would happen to her tenants, so she placed a single rule on all of her leases: no overnight guests. This was to prevent any paranormal investigations from taking place. But her tenants didn't listen, and paranormal investigators would sneak in anyway. Every tenant would eventually go insane, claiming that the ghost of the house tormented them at night. And that's when Helen decided that she needed to do something about the house. She called in priests to perform an exorcism, but it did nothing. She tried pretty much everything she could think of to get rid of the ghost, but she failed. And before long, she was seeing things as well. While walking down the stairs one day, she turned the banister to find a young girl standing at the top of the stairs. But when she turned back around, the little girl was gone. She tried to convince herself that it was just a trick of the light, but she couldn't deny what she had seen. And that's when she realized that she needed help. Helen reached out to paranormal investigator Hans Holzer, who agreed to help her with the situation. It was clear that there was a ghost in the house, but he wanted to know exactly what it wanted. He began speaking to the ghost, asking what she wanted from him. And that's when he learned her name, Sallie. He told her that he understood that she was angry, but she needed to let it go. He asked her why she was still there, and she told him that she didn't know. All she knew was that she didn't want to leave. He told her that she didn't belong there anymore, and that she had to move on. After all, she had been dead for over 100 years, but it would seem that this didn't go quite as planned. Instead of letting her spirit move on, he may have done more harm than good. See, before Hans performed the ritual, he warned Helen that it could go wrong and the ghost could become more aggressive. And that's exactly what happened. It's said that the moment he finished the ritual, the ghost of Sallie vanished, and the house fell silent. But that silence didn't last long. Helen soon noticed that things were moving on their own, and she often felt like she was being watched. She began to see shadows out of the corner of her eye, and she often woke up in the middle of the night to the feeling of dread. What she didn't realize at first was that Sallie had returned, and she was more angry than ever. And that's when things took a turn for the worst. Helen began to experience terrifying nightmares every night. She dreamed of a young girl in a Victorian nightgown dragging herself closer and closer to her, reaching out with dirty, matted fingers. She would wake up screaming, but that just made the ghost stronger. Every night she would get closer and closer to Helen until she was whispering in her ear, telling her how much pain she was in when she died. The ghost told her that she needed to feel that pain too, and that's when things became unbearable. Helen knew she had to escape the house, but every time she tried, Sallie stopped her, warning her that she'd never escape the house and that she'd die right along with her. Now, Helen isn't the only one who's experienced these visions. The ghost of Sallie has been known to appear to other people as well. She often appears as a young girl dragging herself across the floor with chains. Others have reported seeing her full apparition, and they say she looks sad and scared. Over the years, many people have tried to capture her image on camera, but only a few have actually gotten a picture. One picture taken in the house shows a dark figure that seems to be moving toward the camera. Another shows what seems to be a young girl standing in front of an open doorway. After hearing all of these stories, I don't think there's any doubt that the Sallie House is one of the most haunted places in the United States. But it's also one of the most dangerous. You may be able to escape the house, but you'll never be free of the ghost. Today, the house still stands in the small town of Atchison, Kansas. It's not open to the public, but paranormal investigators are welcome to try their luck. If you decide to visit, please be respectful. The ghost of Sallie doesn't want anything from us, but she wants us to remember her. Now watch Ghost Hunting for Beginners Guide to the Ghost World, or check out Most Haunted Places in America.